Oof, yeah, this is the end. I've officially made an L video. Today's video is going to be a lot different in that I'll be discussing a previous upload of mine that seems to have garnered quite a lot of discussion. One of my previous shorts, Miguel vs. Mike Barnes, had polarizing opinions in the comment section. I personally think this opinion of mine confused a lot of people, and it's time to shed light on this. Here is Mike Barnes vs. Miguel, re-explained. Before I get into doubling down on my bad take, as the kids would say, I'm going to first talk about why I did these shorts in the first place and why it also presents a problem. I promise I'm not trying to beat around the bush, just hear me out. When I did my very first short of who would win out of Season 3 Johnny versus Season 3 Daniel, it was intended to be a one-off along with a handful of other requests. I wanted to try something different as fantasy matchups had already been a thing in a non-shorts format from other curators, and I felt that, similar to my character analysis videos, it would make sense to explain my reasoning as I usually do, compared to having two pictures on a screen with some text and displaying that one picture with the category that the character won, or have weird matchups like Terry Silver versus Amanda LaRusso for that matter. I thought that maybe something like this would work because it would be a little more original compared to just re-uploading clips or trailers from the show as an easy way out, and I put a lot of effort in my videos. You subscribe to me for a reason and deserve that effort from me. However, there are some problems my shorts present. Obviously, I have to keep the video under 60 seconds, and trying to get a point across in that amount of time can be difficult when I need to introduce each fighter and complement their strengths. I also have a speech impediment and I naturally talk fast, so it's hard to improve on that when I have such a short time constraint to work within. I'd like to think I'm getting better with that in my normal videos, but that sometimes creeps out. I'm not surprised at all that my opinions and theories in these videos, even the longer ones, can sometimes be misinterpreted, so that could be why there was some confusion in my take of Miguel vs. Mike Barnes. Speaking of which, let's get down to business. I called that in a tournament, Miguel would be able to easily win, and narrowly win in terms of a street fight, depending on the circumstances. But I'm first going to explain how and why I got to this reasoning. This short was made prior to the release of Cobra Kai Season 5, which I will also get to on whether this changes my stance, and since Mike Barnes had not reappeared since the Karate Kid Part 3, I had very limited information to go off of on where he scales as a fighter. As we all know, Robert Mark Kamen really didn't want to write Karate Kid Part 3, as the film was never initially planned, and Robert wanted to instead write a prequel focused on the very first Miyagi. When the film was in production, John Kreese's role was significantly changed due to Martin Kove filming Hard Time on Planet Earth, and thus Terry Silver was born. The original incarnation of Mike Barnes was also vastly different and more chosen-like, motivated to enter the tournament to defeat Daniel and earn the title the right way, instead of a karate mercenary who was focused solely on money. All of this matters because, until we saw the in-betweens of his character explored in Season 5, Mike Barnes was a very one-dimensional character. Logistically, it's also hard to perceive his threat level as bigger than Chosen's, considering how far the latter would go, and Daniel being afraid to fight Mike in a tournament when having participated in an Okinawan death match a few months earlier did make much sense. Mike Barnes has tons of experience due to being a national renowned fighter, and while I have used experience as a factor in the past, it's sometimes hard to determine if that factor has any effect when we have Daniel's 1.5 month of karate experience beating Johnny's 5 years of experience, and Daniel's under a year of karate experience beating Chosen's many unknown years of experience. Additionally, the choreography of the Karate Kid movies is vastly different compared to the Cobra Kai series, as we've seen a lot more fighting in the show compared to the movies themselves, making it hard to also compare skill level with that in mind. And before you say anything, yes, I know Sean Kanan was and is still a legit martial artist. All of that being said, Mike Barnes has the advantage of experience, physical strength to a degree, and skill in terms of this matchup. As I mentioned in my original short video, the key difference is if he ever fought Miguel, Miguel wouldn't fear him. Daniel was at a disadvantage because of Terry Silver's mind games, but he did possess the ability to beat Mike. Sure, Daniel had lost fights to Mike quite easily prior to the tournament fight, but that can also be easily said not only about Karate Kid Part 1 and 2, but even in Cobra Kai. Miguel's first real fight with Kyler didn't exactly end well in Season 1, but he went on to defeat him and his gang later on in the season. This formulaic pattern of the hero losing first but going on to later win in the final battle is even present in the Rocky movies, notably the first 4 movies, which I count the first and second film, as we could argue that after losing to Apollo, Rocky still went on to beat him, and I count Rocky 4 in a sense that Rocky didn't lose to Ivan first, but rather avenge Apollo's loss and death at the hands of Drago. Not to mention, in the ruse put together by Terry Silver and Mike Barnes, Mike attempts to strike and grab Daniel, but Daniel easily counters this into a throw, the same technique he does to counter Mike's strike and win the All-Valley Finals match. Miguel in the finale of Season 2, before falling off the railing, was at his prime. He was focused, determined, and didn't fear anyone. He wasn't afraid to fight his own friend to get back the Medal of Honor for Miyagi-Do, and he wasn't afraid to rush in when he thought Tori was being hurt by Robbie. Miguel, compared to the other fighters of his dojo, also knew how to fight both offensively and defensively when need be. In my opinion, knowing these techniques and not fearing opponents put him at an advantage more so than Daniel had in the movie. While we don't know what exact style Mike Barnes knew or who his teacher was outside of Silver and Kreese, Miguel would at least be prepared for the fundamental Cobra Kai techniques Barnes would try to throw at him. I don't think Miguel would 3-stock Mike Barnes like Hawk did to Kyler in Season 4, but he would have a good chance of winning. In terms of a street fight, I think Mike would make it a little more difficult for Miguel, as there are no rules and no point system. We can't underestimate Mike's physicality by throwing Daniel around, which Miguel also did to Robbie, but I think Miguel would still have a chance of winning. Again, not a clean sweep or not taking any damage, but Miguel could come out victorious. What could be his downfall is showing mercy to his opponent, as we saw in Season 2, and that's something Mike would take advantage of. But again, the outcome could favor either of them. Now that Season 5 has come out, does that change my opinion at all? It does to an extent. For one, I think it's safe to say that Season 5 is definitely Miguel's peak. He knows 3 different karate styles, is focused and determined once again, and as Chosen would say, this time is fighting for, not against. It's obvious that Miguel in Season 3 would not stand a chance, and although he knew different styles in Season 4, he wasn't as focused due to his conflict with Johnny and wanting to know who his real father is. However, Season 5 also gave us a deeper look into Mike Barnes. Although we didn't exactly delve into the background of his martial arts, we did see him briefly scrap with both Chosen and Johnny, and we saw that he was able to contend with both of them before ending it in a stalemate. This puts him at least somewhat of an equal level with not only Daniel, but Johnny and Chosen as well. This is even after him not fighting for many years, as we also see with other characters, and rings true to what Kreese said in Season 4. Karate is not a phase, it's a way of life. You can leave it for a while, but it never really leaves you. This retroactively adds some depth to his fighting ability and shows that if a fight were to take place between Mike Barnes and Johnny, or Mike Barnes and Chosen, the matches would have been fairly close. If you were to ask me who I think would win now between Miguel as of Season 5 versus Mike Barnes in 1985, it would still be a tough match to call. Mike would still have the experience factor, whatever that is worth, but Miguel, knowing multiple styles and possessing the ability to execute both offense and defense excellently, is another factor we can't rule out. In a tournament fight, I think Miguel would stand even more of a chance now that both his offense and defense has improved, but a street fight would still be tough to call. My final thoughts on this subject. Does this mean my opinion or take is wrong? Yes, depending on what you believe, and no, depending on what you believe. That's why it's called an opinion. It's a subjective stance, not a fact. I don't claim to be the best at these theories. I'm just a guy with opinions who happens to intrigue you. I could easily say this fight would end in a draw, or I can't call this fight, but you, the audience, want to know my opinion regarding these fights, and I'd rather pick a definitive answer if possible than giving a cop-out of a draw. I understand that I have scaled other fights differently that sometimes conflict with my other fight opinions. I'm also a believer in that opinions can change over time, and it's not that serious to nitpick things over characters that don't even exist. We will never see this fight happen, but that's the fun with these theories and discussion. It's interesting to speculate with what little information the shows and movies give us. It's fun to see how people get so passionate about these types of discussions, and as long as we're respecting each other and being civil, that's all I ask for. The Miyagi-verse is unrealistic in so many ways, but that's what also makes it so intriguing. The characters are so well written, there's a mystical feeling at times within the world, and the story makes us want to tune in season after season. After all, people are talking about it, and that means the showrunners have succeeded in their goal of people watching Cobra Kai. Before I go, I want to give a quick shout out and thanks to my partners and affiliates. I now have official merchandise. Go to strifethewarrior.art or click on any of the merchandise below the comments section. If you're trying to prevent Terry Silver from taking the valley, then you're going to need a VPN. Go to NordVPN.com/StrifeTheWarrior or use coupon code StrifeTheWarrior to get a NordVPN 2-year plan with a huge discount. You can use NordVPN to unlock Netflix and your favorite entertainment websites that are not available here in the US. You can connect up to 6 devices at the same time with one account. There is no data logging whatsoever, and it works even in China. NordVPN works with Windows, macOS, Linux, iOS, and Android, has a Chrome extension which is very user-friendly, and unlimited bandwidth. If you're not happy with it for any reason, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. With 7 All-Valley Championships under its belt, it's no wonder why NordVPN is a winner. If you use this code, you also help directly support my channel. So go to NordVPN.com/StrifeTheWarrior or use coupon code StrifeTheWarrior at checkout. Last but not least, I'm sure I have a good majority of gamers here in the audience, but did you know you can grab some excellent games while supporting charities at the same time? If you haven't already, you should check out HumbleBundle. They've raised over $200 million in charity since 2010 and feature a different charity site-wide every month. If you see a bundle you like, you can pay for what you want and in return get computer programs, games, ebooks, etc., and the proceeds support charity. Go to HumbleBundle.com and use my referral link in the description at checkout. These referral links help support the channel, so thank you NordVPN and thank you HumbleBundle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Who do you think would win out of this fight? Would it be easier for me to make longer video theories instead of short ones? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it, subscribe, share it with your friends, and comment, as these all help my channel grow. Be sure to check out and subscribe to my second gaming channel. I'm trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, and supporting this channel also helps me support my main channel. I'll be uploading more clips to this gaming channel, so stay tuned for that. Keep up with me on my socials via Instagram and Twitter. Shout out to my YouTube members, I appreciate the support. If you'd like to directly support the channel, consider becoming a member and enjoy perks such as VIP channels access in Discord, preview videos before release, 15% off of merch, members only live streams and chats, and more, all for only 99 cents. Thanks for watching, stay beautiful, stay awesome, and we'll catch you around next time.